Hello friends, and welcome back to my allotment channel. If we don't know each other yet, my name is Adela. I live in the northeast of England and this is the first growing season at my allotment. And in this video I thought we can do a couple of things today. I need to finish planting up my raised beds at the top of my allotment, and then I thought I can give you a little tour of my allotment plot. Today is actually the last day of May, so this will be like a little end of May tour. So we have 4 different beds to plant today, and we're gonna start here at the top of my allotment with bed 1. And in bed 1 we'll be putting some nasturtiums and some beetroot. So I'm already growing a few things in here. So these are potatoes, of course. These are my second early potatoes, and actually they're doing fabulous. I'm really impressed. I should say everything you see me growing here is me growing it for the first time ever. So I'll be impressed with almost everything I see. So also in bed 1, we have a row of onions. These are onions I'm growing from set. Some direct sown dill over there. Some sets of leeks. I've got 3 sets of multi-sown leek, which is still very, very tiny. And then we're also growing some cucumbers in here. No, sorry, they're not cucumbers. They are gherkins, so they're like tiny cucumbers for pickling. So I thought this might look a little bit sad, especially if the gherkins will not do as well as I hope. So just to be safe that something climbs up here on this arch, since I managed to put so much effort into putting the arch here, I'm going to pop a few nasturtiums. I also realized I haven't planted any flower in this bed, so this is gonna serve as my pollinator flower. Saying that, I do have some sweet peas just along this, which may have been a mistake in hindsight because I think they're gonna grow quite big and bushy, but they're in the ground now, so I'll see what happens with them. I might just keep snipping them off and putting them in my vase. We'll see. Let's do it! So this beetroot I'm growing is a rainbow beetroot, so there should be like different colors. I'm really excited about this. I guess we'll have to wait until the harvest though. But that's the nasturtium in now as well, and that's bed 1 finished. Now on to bed 2. So in bed 2, we're planting marigolds and peppers. But actually, I'm not being completely truthful yet because peppers will go in eventually, but as you can see, my pepper seedlings are still very, very small. They're just going much slower than I expected. So they're not gonna go into the bed just yet. I've brought them in just for demonstration. I'm not sure if they're gonna grow in the British weather outside. I'll definitely have several in the polytunnel, but because this is my first growing season, I thought I'm just gonna test it out and see if it's gonna do well outside. Apparently we're in for a hot summer in the UK this year, so maybe it will actually manage. We'll see. What we're planting today though are some marigolds. Again, I need a companion flower in this bed. I've got a lot of fruiting veg here already, so let me give you a little introduction what's going on in this bed. I've got a couple of courgettes. So there is a yellow courgette and there is a regular green courgette. Then again, we've got the end of the arch here, which is gonna have some climbing runner beans. And then next to it, I just popped down some salads. There is lamb's lettuce at the minute. And also we are growing some dill down here, which I've put in from modules. And I've already optimistically put out a couple of cherry tomato plants to see if they can adapt to the outside weather. And it's a bit of a test, the same as eventually will be with peppers, to see if I can actually grow them outdoors at all. I have way too many cherry tomatoes plants anyway, so it's fine if they don't do well, but I'm just trying it out. But they need some companion plants, which is why we've just brought out these lovely marigolds, which actually really need to be planted in the ground just yet because they're quite big. Oh yeah, I'm definitely root bound at this point. Alright, so that's bed 2 planted up, except for the peppers. now let's go and have a look at bed 3. And in here we're planting some kohlrabi and some salads. So bed 3 is a bed that actually was the earliest growing bed for me this year. So it's already got one crop harvested, believe it or not. I had some radishes in here and now there's this empty space. So this is where we're going to put down my kohlrabi. But also eventually I think I'm going to change and cover it up. Potentially even today, because as we know the birds will eat it straight away if I don't. So maybe let's do it right now. But in here I also have some rocket already growing. There's a space for salads. I already put salads there a few times and the slugs ate them, so I'm gonna try another time. Then we have a row of spring onions. Then we have some peas, which also will need to be covered up again, but these are some lovely peas that the birds have been trying to eat, so I had to cover them with some mesh, but they've just started fruiting finally, properly. Then in the corner here, I've been harvesting some radishes and I've planned to pull them out and put in some gourds. Gourds will again climb up on here. I'm gonna need to snap them on. But actually, I think it really doesn't obstruct. So I've left them in alongside my gourds. Now gourds are like little decorative pumpkins I'm going to use for decoration in autumn. But I'm planning to train them along this trellis as well. And then here in the very edge we have a couple of rows of carrots and a couple of rows of parsnips, and in between you have some nice French marigold as well. So let's get on with it. So that's bed 3 planted up, and now let's have a look at bed 4. And in this bed we're putting Brussels sprouts and celery. So again, quite a lot going on in this bed already. This bed is very densely planted up at the minute. I've got 2 covered areas. This one has peas. These are the latest peas I've put out, but obviously because my allotment site is a pigeon domain, they need to be covered, otherwise the pigeons will eat them. And then in here we've already got some brassicas. There's 3 cauliflowers, and then interplanted with them I've got some onions. But because there was lots of empty space, I decided to also put out some more salads in here, because I'm probably going to harvest them by the time the cauliflowers grow a little bit bigger. And then I also popped down some marigolds as well. And then at the front of the bed, I have some leeks. They're very, very tiny, so it'll be very difficult to see on the camera. And then obviously another climber up here, which is nasturtium. And then it's just this triangle area down here that we need to plant up today. So I think this is just going to fit only one Brussels sprout plant, so that's what we're gonna do. And then we're also going to put a diagonal row of celeriac bulbs. Some compost. And some manure. So that's bed 4 finished now. Now I'm just going to cover it all up to make sure pigeons don't eat it, and I'm gonna show you the allotment. So as you may have already realized, not all of this plot is mine. This plot is split into 2 half plots and are split down by the path. So this side of the allotment plot is mine, whereas this side is my neighbor's, and the same goes from the top and the bottom. So the top is his, so this is not mine. Mine is the polytunnel at the bottom, which is the polytunnel I have built this winter. The thing is, I've been really obsessed with adding some height to my garden, so you'll see plenty of structures along the way. My plot is really this long, narrow strip, and it starts right here with, obviously, my little sign, Adela's garden, and we've got some strawberries growing here. And then we have the 4 raised beds that we've just planted, and I wasn't sure if the raspberries growing there are summer fruiting or autumn fruiting raspberries, but I measured they might be autumn fruiting, so I did chop them down all down to the bottom in February, and look at them now. They're sprouted right back up. I'm so impressed, but it just means definitely they were autumn fruiting, and we're gonna have hopefully plenty of raspberries this year. And then going down along, we've got a couple of fields, and I have some mixed feelings about these fields. So in this one right here, I've kind of mixed my different crops. So here we have some broad beans that are doing really, really great. I'm really happy that I've planted them, even though I didn't know what they are before. I'm happy at least something's going well at this allotment. Also, we have the potatoes right here, and they're also doing quite well. These are my first earlies, so it's the second earlies in the bed, but it's the first earlies down here. And this may have been a mistake, but I've also popped out some onions right next to them, and they're quite spreading over the onions right now, so maybe it wasn't the best idea. But then in here, look at that. Doesn't look that bad, but actually when you realize this was meant to be a garlic bed, not so great. So it looks like my garlic just didn't really do well this year whatsoever. So I'll show you on the other side as well what it looks like. This was the entire field of garlic, and look at it. It just looks so miserable, and the garlic is just not really strong. It looks all spindly, and the bulbs will be really, really tiny. So I won't lie, I'm actually quite sad about the garlic, because this was one of the things I wanted to grow, my own garlic, and I seem to have failed. The crops have just failed, and I'm not 100% sure why. My mom did tell me about 2 months ago that my garlic is not looking so well, but I thought, oh, it's fine, it's just after the winter. And she's like, no, like you should have fertilized it a month ago, and now it's too late. And turns out she was right. It just didn't do really well. So I don't know why, but the garlic just, it's a sad story. So going back to this bed, I've already pulled some garlic that was really doing really poorly out. And we've got some more dill, we've got some coriander and some rocket growing in between the rows. And then we've got a flower bed down here, which doesn't have much in flower right now. It had some beautiful tulips earlier in the season, but they're all gone. And now it's gonna have some poppies that are just coming out. And this little plant, which is supposed to be a little bit like cow parsley, I forgot its name. I think it's called Amni majus, but it's gonna come out a little bit later. So at the minute, it's just these little cute alliums that are brightening it up. But in this garlic bed, again, I'm going to utilize the rows in between. I'm still gonna wait a little bit longer until all the garlic turns yellow before I pull it out. But in here I already have some mizuna sown, which is getting eaten by something. And then over there I've sown some parsley, and I've also planted a store-bought plant of parsley. And then here we already have a row of salads. And just at the end of the bed I have some kohlrabis that are already starting to bulb a little bit, which is really good. I have to keep them covered because the pigeons will eat them otherwise. And we have some more broad beans. And then by my neighbor, this is my perennial bed. So I have put some lupins in, some fresh lupins this year, but there's one that survived the winter, and it looks like it's about to flower very soon, hopefully. Also, I've planted some peonies, but this year is the first year they're not going to flower. And this year I've sown some cornflower, but eventually I want to put some hollyhocks down this edge. So moving on, I have my 3 cold frames, and this one is where I keep my salads. So these are again salad seedlings from the very same batch, and these are some store-bought seedlings of little gem that have just started to grow really nicely. In the next raised bed, this was my very first crop of peas, but I think I've harvested them all now. And my first harvest of mizuna, which has gone into flower, and there's very few leaves left. So I think I'm gonna have to pull this half. And on the other half, again, we have a bed of salads, which is romaine. It's supposed to be a red romaine, but I think because it's covered, it's just not getting much of the red color because there's just not enough sun coming through. And then finally in the last bed, we have some cucumbers. So there's just little plants that went in a few weeks ago, but hopefully they're gonna grow on. And then that was again my first harvest of some salad leaves. This is mustard. They've grown quite big, but I'm still harvesting from them. But going back a few steps, let me just carry on with this side of the plot. So in here we don't have anything yet. I'm thinking to put some chard in here, but right now we have these climbing beans again and some calendula. This is my big flower bed. Now this bed probably looks like a mess right now because I had a really good planting scheme. I've planted like the different heights and different colors, and the time it's all going to bloom. But right now it's just looking like a big mess. So at the minute these alliums are on their way out. I actually need to deadhead them. These alliums have just come out, but we've also got some herbs in here, and eventually there's gonna be verbena in the middle. There's gonna be some anemone, some peonies, and some bupleurum for my vase arrangement. Fingers crossed. And then down this side, this is my future strawberry bed, but all of these strawberry plants have just gone in the ground this year, so I don't expect them to get huge. But actually they're already carrying fruit. I've already harvested a couple of strawberries, so I kind of had the idea that I will need to net them because the birds will otherwise eat it. And I've kind of created this cage on a whim. I have to say I'm quite impressed. I wasn't sure what I'm doing. I just started doing it and it somehow came together, and I think this is gonna last me a few years, so it's a good thing I managed to do that. Then in here we have more peas, again need to be covered for the pigeons, and more sowings of radishes. Over there, this is why the cover is here, it's for the radishes, because I think the pigeons have been onto them. And then there's another height structure. Just really wanted to introduce height into my garden. I'm not sure why, I just was bothered by the fact that it's so flat. So I decided to put this in here. It's got some climbing beans, but eventually I also want to put out some gourds. I haven't got around to do that yet. So there's some gaps in here for the gourds to come on, and potentially one cucumber as well to test it out. The rest of them will be in the polytunnel. And then this is for fruiting vegetables. So we have a couple of sunburst summer squashes. So they're gonna produce like these round yellow squashes. And then a couple of courgettes. Now I believe these are both green courgettes, not yellow courgettes, but we'll see. And then just behind, another flower patch. So I'm really obsessed with flower patches. Again, this flower patch doesn't look like much yet because most of it have been sown from seed, same on the other side. And at the minute as well, it's quite difficult to tell the weeds from the flowers. So I'm kind of letting everything grow on a little bit more before I pull things out when I realize there are weeds. So it looks a little bit untidy. Eventually I would like to put some perennial flowers in here, helenium and chrysanthemum, but I'm still growing them on in the polytunnel, so they're gonna go out later on, and some hollyhocks down on that side as well. Again, they're still being protected in the polytunnel. Now to this side of the allotment. This is the flower patch I'm probably most impressed with because this soil was so horrible when I first uncovered it last year. There was a lot of rubbish on it. There was a lot of things I had to take to the tip, and then when I uncovered it there was a lot of weeds underneath, mostly bindweed, which is trying to find its way out again. And when I started digging the soil, there were also these metal rods inside the soil. They were all corroded, so I've pulled them all out. And I've dug over the soil, but it was extremely poor, so I've been trying to dig in a little bit of compost, and actually it seems to have revived itself, and now these poppies have sprouted out, so I'm really excited to see when they're gonna bloom. But also I've got another row of bupleurum behind them. And you may remember, if you watched all of my videos, in my very first video I was sowing some corms of ranunculus in December. So that's the Persian buttercup flower, and I was telling you how there's gonna be this row of vibrant orange flowers. And ever since I was waiting for the corms to come out, nothing happened, and then eventually one of them managed to pop out, and hello, we have one vibrant orange flower instead of the whole row. But you know, I'm actually happy that at least one of them managed to survive, so it kind of justifies planting more next year, which I definitely will because I love Persian buttercups. So I'm gonna try again. The soil is much better now, so hopefully next time I'll have better luck with them, but I'm really, really pleased that at least one of them survived. So here I thought I'm gonna give you a nice sunset tour, but actually it's like an evening night tour because there is no light. So sorry about this, guys. But yeah, we're gonna walk through this untidy area, which used to be the greenhouse entrance. I still need to sort this out at some point, probably not this year because I'm doing so much already. But in the greenhouse, I've planned to have another flower bed, mostly flowers, but now actually I'm thinking to interplant it with some brassicas as well. So at the minute, not much is going on in here yet. We've got a row of carrots down here and a bit of coriander, but I want to do some more flowers in here. In here, we've already started planting out flowers, but I think this is about a 50%. The rest is still to come out. So these are some zinnias, some cosmos. I've got some sunflowers going on there. Some more cosmos at the back. This is where we're going to have some Brussels sprouts eventually. And then here on the hut, I am trying to grow climbing sweet peas. And in front of them, some dahlias. And now the moment I'm sure you've all been waiting for. This is the area I just finished in my last video, and I didn't manage to show you how I planted it up, so let's go have a look. So we have another archway which leads to the bottom section of my allotment, and here we have some more flowers. So I've put down a hollyhock here. This is going to be a permanent fixture, and then we've got more of those amnimages, some climbing nasturtium and some calendula. And then on the other side we have more dahlias, some sunflowers, also some verbena, some bells of Ireland, and I'm going to try and climb those gourds here on the arch as well. And now leading to my final bed here, this is probably where I'm going to put down a pepper or a tomato, to be decided, but for now we've got my yellow courgette and pumpkin, and there's another pumpkin over there because I'm going to try the pumpkin method when you climb them through the sweet corn. And then this bit of the allotment, obviously not much going on here yet. I haven't gotten down here yet. This is where I'm going to have more vegetable patches. Eventually, I'm hoping to be able to clear it out in about a month for this half and put some brassicas down here, maybe my winter cabbages. And then this half has got loads of nettles right now, which need to be chopped down. They've just sprung up. I'm gonna put them in my compost, and I really need to top clean this maybe in the next couple of weeks and get some of those nettle roots out. Otherwise, we also have my tree, which I've planted this year. This is a plum tree, which I'm trying to train to grow as a fan. And also another bush of gooseberries. I didn't show you my gooseberry bush. It's kind of next to my raspberries, but this is just another one of them. And when I cleaned this up, there was so many brambles everywhere, which I managed to dig out and get rid of. And I've kept just one little tiny bramble. And I felt so sorry for the brambles that I've cut them all, and I kept just one tiny one. But look what's happened in like a couple of months. The bramble absolutely exploded. So I'm definitely happy that I've kept just one, and I'll just need to keep managing it at this kind of level every year, because I just don't want this situation to happen again when the brambles spread everywhere, because it was so much pain to get them out of the ground. And that, my friends, is my allotment tour. Obviously, I'll also take you into my polytunnel now. So we are very much on the last leg of the light, but we can still do it. So obviously the polytunnel is still a work in progress. I'm trying to get rid of all the plants in pots and put them outside and clear up more space where I can actually plant in here. But so far we've put down 6 big tomato plants. So I've got these big beef tomato plants. So where you see the strings going up, this is where they are. But then we still got some tomatoes in pots around here. We've got lots of flowers in pots. They all need to come out eventually. Also, I've got some peppers down here. And on this side, I'll focus more on cucumbers. So again, I've got some strings up already, 3 of them. This is where cucumbers are. But eventually, I think some of the tomatoes will need to come on this side as well. Lots and lots of seedlings. I'm not gonna walk you through it. I guess you'll see them in my upcoming videos when I'm planting things out. But thank you so much guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed a little update on how my allotment's looking right now, and thank you for joining me. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!